You knew this day would come. The day of reckoning. Know that if I had it my way, I would have busted you months ago. Know that you dodged a bullet. Know that you narrowly escaped. Know that under different circumstances, today, you would be dust. I promised to be civil, but let's get something straight. I hate you. Let's get on with it. Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster. Spider-Man has gone on to become one of the biggest movie franchises of all time, being one of the 3 films responsible for the comic book movie boom. But its success, it's also its downfall, as a great deal of studio meddling and last-minute rewrites caused the 3rd film in the franchise to be a sordid mess. And in 2010, when Sony feared losing the rights to the franchise if they didn't produce another film by a deadline, in which the director and star of the first 3 films were unavailable, they opted to produce a remake instead. A remake that came out just 4 years after the last movie, making it the fastest remake in film history, even faster than The Hulk. But lo and behold, the Spider-Man remake, titled The Amazing Spider-Man, turned out to be a decent film, which showed a great deal of potential for the continuation of the franchise. So as fans, we accepted this new chapter of Spider-Man and looked forward to its inevitable sequel. And that brings us to today. So, if you're one of those people that still defends this movie in spite of its many flaws, you might want to stop the video here. But if you are beyond sympathy for the mediocre, join me as I count down the top 10 uninspiring, unappealing, unintelligible, and downright unamazing Spider-Man 2 moments. Number 10. While this movie has one of the greatest ensemble casts ever assembled, I think we can all agree that they wasted Paul Giamatti and Chris Cooper. And I also thought I saw Black Cat in there for a second. Nah, I was probably just hallucinating. Not only did 2 of the best actors in the movie get the least amount of screen time, but they were casted as 2 of Spider-Man's most prominent and important villains, only for them to have little to no bearing on the plot. I mean, could you imagine if the Joker only showed up at the beginning and the end of Batman? There would have been riots on the street. This is one shady decision that I'm pretty sure that both Chris and Paul resent to this very day. Oh, hi, Uatu.
Hi.
You're not going to introduce yourself?
No.
Do you have any obscure facts about this movie that you would like to share?
Not really.
Were you also disappointed by the film?
Yeah.
So, this is just a pointless cameo as part of a pathetic plea for sympathy.
Exactly.
Well, it's a good thing this movie doesn't stoop to anything as cliched and obvious. Wait a minute. Number 9. Remember when Dennis Leary's character, Captain Stacy, died in the first movie? How tragic and meaningful that scene was? Wouldn't it suck if they ruined that moment with some relatively silly motif in the next movie? Dennis Leary's ghost appears to Spider-Man! He literally appears to him just to make him feel guilty about his past actions. Way to fuck it up, guys! If you were going to stoop to such an obvious low, why not go all the way and have him dispense valuable words of wisdom to Spider-Man?
I'm just not happy because my life didn't turn out the way I thought it would. Hey, join the fucking club, okay? I thought I was going to be the starting center fielder for the Boston Red Sox. Life sucks. Get a fucking helmet, all right? Nobody's happy, okay? Happiness comes in small doses, folks. It's a cigarette or a chocolate chip cookie or a 5-second orgasm. That's it, okay? You come, you eat the cookie, you smoke the butt, you go to sleep, you get up in the morning and go to fucking work, okay? That is it. End of fucking list.
The first movie dared to explore one of the facets of Spider-Man's history that very few adaptations dare to explore, the disappearance of Peter Parker's parents. But like many plot points from The Amazing Spider-Man, this was not resolved in the first movie. So right out of the gate we jump right back into that storyline, where we find out that Peter's parents were on the run as they had the secret to unlocking spider-like extra-human abilities that Norman Osborn wanted to keep for himself, to the degree that he had Peter's parents killed. Mid-movie, Peter is told that his parents were crooked and that they stole the formula, even though we already know they didn't. Then, after he disowns his parents, just a few scenes later, he finds out that they were good guys all along, which we already knew. So we waited all this time for the main character to find out information that we both already knew and didn't care about. We never got to know Peter's parents. We know Uncle Ben, Aunt May, and Gwen. Those are the characters that we care about. To devote so much time and effort to characters that we barely know, only to tell us crap that we were already painfully aware of, is just asinine and wasteful. Ugh, I need something to cheer me up. Stanley cameo!
Peter Parker. I think I know that guy. Excelsior! Oh!
Number 7. As I stated during my honest review of the first movie, that film had too many loose plot threads, but I didn't complain too much, as I naively assumed that all those plot threads would be tied up in this movie. Guess what? Most of them weren't! We still don't know who the guy in the hat is. There are plenty of theories, but nothing concrete. Why was he creating supervillains? Did anybody ever deal with the jerk that fired Kurt Connors? He was planning on testing an unlicensed drug on war veterans. Last time I checked, that was illegal. Why did Spidey stop hunting the guy that killed Uncle Ben? Did he just lose interest? What the hell did Norman Osborn die of? And for that matter, why did the disease give him lizard hands?
The world may never know.
Once again, I could possibly dismiss all of this under the assumption that all of these questions would be answered in a later sequel, but there's just too many things about this movie that bother me. Namely, Number 6. The villains in this movie suck! Keep in mind, I'm not talking about the actors. They're great. I'm talking about the overall portrayal of the villains in this movie. Let's start with the most tacked-on last-minute villain since Venom in Spider-Man 3, the Goblin. This is the first appearance of Spider-Man's greatest enemy in the rebooted franchise. And not only do they discard his best-known alter ego within the span of 5 minutes, but they pass the mantle of the Goblin to this rich, skinny, whiny little twerp who isn't worthy of carrying the Goblin's stylish purple purse. Sorry, bag of tricks. First of all, for characters who claim to be best friends, these two have zero chemistry. I see no evidence in their behavior that these two have any kind of a bond or prior relationship. And of course, there's the fact that Harry is dying. And what does one of the richest and most powerful kids in the world do about it? He spends 90% of the movie sulking, instead of looking for a more plausible cure to his disease than Spider-Man's blood. Seriously, was that his only choice? So he decides to just kill Spider-Man instead. Yeah, that motivation is not forced in any way. Then, after an hour and 40 minutes, we finally get the Goblin. And, yeah, he looks like an extra from Highlander 2. While I freely admit that Sam Raimi's version of the Green Goblin could use some improvement, this was not improvement! So, at this point in time, a lot of you are probably wondering, if I have so many issues with this movie, why don't I just go ahead and bust it? Well, as much as it pains me to admit it, this movie does have some redeeming qualities. namely, the actors. Andrew Garfield did a spectacular job as Spider-Man. I would even go as far as to say that in this film he completely surpassed Tobey Maguire. Andrew just owned it and brought Spidey to life in full glory, as a playful, overly talkative hero of the people. In fact, his interactions with the citizens of New York are a major highlight of this movie. His chemistry with Sally Field is perfect.
Hey, wait, what are you doing? No, I do the laundry.
I'm doing my laundry.
No, I do the laundry. This
No,
is
I know,
No, this is my job. I've been doing your laundry since you were 6 years old.
I understand that. I'm in college now. I think it's time that I took care of my own dirty underwear.
Last time you did the laundry, you turned everything blue and red.
And I enjoyed all of their scenes together, especially the one where she gets on to him for glorifying the ghost of his dad, who abandoned him. All the while, Uncle Ben and her dedicated their lives to taking care of Peter and loving him like a son. And I would be lying if I claimed that I didn't get a little choked up every time I see this scene. Unfortunately, this well-performed, well-directed scene is followed by one of the worst scenes in film history. Number 5. This is the moment that officially made me lose all faith in this movie. And of course, I'm talking about the scene in which Harry thinks Spider-Man's blood can cure him, and Spider-Man refuses to help.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
I can summarize everything that's wrong with this scene with one sentence. Spider-Man would never refuse to help someone, especially his best friend. He's Spider-Man, he's Peter Parker, he's a genius. He almost figured out how to make this formula work in the last movie with Kirk Connors. And in this movie, he has access to his dad's secret lab with all of his research on the subject. The Peter Parker that I grew up reading about would at least try, but he doesn't. He abandons Harry and goes about his business. Why? Did he already save Harry and everybody only gets one?
Wow, thanks, Spider-Man.
Everybody gets one. Tell him, Peter.
Apparently everybody gets one.
Bingo.
You know how I mentioned earlier how the villains in this movie are, not so good? Number 4. I was so excited when I first heard that Jamie Foxx was playing Electro in this movie, as the character is a bit of a blank canvas, giving the talented Jamie Foxx plenty of room to stretch his legs and play the character however he wanted. I also like the idea of Electro starting out as a nerd and an outcast. After all, that's the way Spider-Man started out. And if Electro represents anything in the Spider-Man mythos, it's the road not taken. Max Dillon, like Peter Parker, gets his powers by accident. But instead of using his great power with great responsibility, he goes in the complete opposite direction. Here, they turn him into a nerdy fan. Were the filmmakers making fun of us? 'Cause, you know, I don't mind being made fun of, but could it at least be funny? Or interesting? He just comes off sad, out of touch, and hard to relate to. Not to mention, they already used this character arc with the Riddler in Batman Forever. And as terrible as that movie might be, they handled that storyline a lot better than they did in this movie. There, you have no doubt why Edward Nygma would resent Bruce Wayne.
I'm sorry, Ed, then the answer is no. Tampering with people's brainwaves, mind manipulation, it just raises too many questions. Sorry.
Thanks, everybody. Keep up the good work. Factory looks great. All right, everyone. Back to work.
Here, however, Max gets his powers because his co-workers are assholes.
Gilbert. What? It's Max. Can we shut down power on sector 32, please?
Forget it. I'm out the door.
What do you mean, though? Listen, I'm up here. It's dangerous.
Sorry, Max.
Hello?
Seriously, were there no safety protocols in this place? And his motivation for turning evil is Spider-Man stole his spotlight.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
And yes, like most people, I also notice how he got his powers from electric eels, and yet he is vulnerable to water. Go figure. Like the Goblin, this character also feels tacked on. Like they wrote the whole movie and said, shit, we forgot to add in a villain. Throw in Electro, he hasn't been in a movie before. This is even more evident by the fact that their story arcs are not intertwined. Usually, it's Peter's mentors, father figures, and friends who are transformed into Spider-Man's villains, giving Peter a severe conflict of interest. Here, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. These characters are nothing to each other. They have no connection other than running into each other 3 times in the movie. All the while, Spider-Man is literally in the middle of something else. Max meets him, he's obsessed. He runs into him again, he tries to kill him, for reasons that are too stupid to dignify with a second explanation. And then they fight once more during their final showdown. Which brings me to my next point. Number 3. Spider-Man kills Electro. I know I've preached about this before, but just bear with me one more time, cause I wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't important. Yes, I totally get it when certain heroes kill. Sometimes there is no other way.
Now don't make me shoot you. Well then, maybe if it's someone you care about.
But the main appeal of characters like Superman and Spider-Man is that they serve as a shining example to all other heroes. They are the guys who make the hard decisions and always find a better way, as they do their best not to stoop to the level of their enemies. Initially, Spider-Man hunted down Uncle Ben's killer to kill him, but once he realized it was the same man, he refused to stop at the wrestling show robbery. He couldn't go through with it. The shame of being partially guilty for his uncle's death is Spider-Man's main motivation. His choice not to be like the heartless man that robbed him of his uncle. So for him to just callously kill Electro without even considering any other way of stopping him, tarnishes everything this great character stands for. Electro is dead and he doesn't even lament it. Spider-Man is too smart and too noble to act this way. He wouldn't even let his worst enemy die without at least trying to save him.
Help! Help me! Oh, where am I? What's going on? Spider-Man! Help me! Why on earth should I do that? Ah! No, as much as I hate him for what he's done, I can't let this happen. Revenge is never justified. Nothing will bring Mary Jane back. Hang on, Osborn!
Which reminds me, Spider-Man did try to kill the Green Goblin in the comics, but he couldn't go through with it, even though the Green Goblin had taken from him the most valuable thing that Peter had. Which brings me to my next point. Number 2. The number one reason why I don't bust this movie is because the portrayal of Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy's relationship is perfect. As I've stated before, director Mark Webb is the master of on-screen relationship, and this particular talent is very much present in both of his Spider-Man films. You see Gwen and Peter together and you have no doubt that they're in love, that their affection is equal, and that they will stand by each other no matter what. Plus, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's chemistry is fantastic.
This is the maintenance closet, Gwen. This is the most cliched hiding place you could have chosen. This is the stupidest hiding place.
Take us to the Bahamas as hiding place.
Listen.
For this reason, I feel that they are not just the best couple in any comic book movie, but I also feel that their relationship and their scenes together are actually the best part of this movie. And for this reason, I feel that this was not the right time to kill off Gwen. Yes, I'm fully aware that she died in the comics. Yes, I'm fully aware that her death was a major turning point in Spider-Man's history. And yes, I can see how this entire movie is structured to end with Gwen's death. But here's the thing. Killing off a major character should be a bold move by the writer, with the intention of the event leading to the growth and evolution of the surviving characters. They literally killed off the best part of the movie, the one part that didn't feel hokey or ill-conceived, the part that felt organic and brilliantly portrayed, the part that very few directors could pull off in any movie, and they destroyed it. This, my friends, is the perfect metaphor for the overall quality of this movie. The one thing that the filmmakers did perfectly is gone. And now for my number one unamazing Spider-Man moment. I discuss the following subject, I would like to play a clip for you.
Me and my friends feel like a lot of stuff is going in this movie. You have Rhino, Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, Electro, Oscorp, the Osborns now. Do you feel like you're putting in too much? Because I don't really want another Spider-Man 3 where it gets too much.
Yeah! Good question, man.
It's just the right amount of stuff in it, obviously.
Yeah, they lied. They lied to that fan, they lied to all the people at that panel. They lied to me, they lied to you, they lied to everyone. Because this movie is one unapologetic clusterfuck. Some of you might feel that this is not as big of a clusterfuck as Spider-Man 3, and honestly, I wouldn't challenge that. But a rose is a rose, my friends. This movie is an uninspired mess of plot points and mini-scenes that when assembled don't even come close to telling a cohesive story. All of these story elements are just happening on top of each other, and most of them are just painfully unimportant to the overall arc of the characters. You want proof? Try saying the plot of this movie aloud. I fucking dare ya. Alright, let's see. Peter Parker's trying to balance his romantic life with his superhero life. All the while, one of his fans turns into a supervillain who wants to kill him for, no good fucking reason. All the while, he's trying to find out the truth about his parents. All the while, his dying friend Harry has a vendetta against him. All the while, Oscorp is creating supervillains and... jeez.
I don't get it.
I think I made my point. So that concludes my top 10 unamazing Spider-Man moments. If you disagree and you still think this is one of the greatest movies ever made, God, I wish I was you. So that concludes another year of the Blockbuster Buster, as I once again enter the erod sleep for 3 months to get some much needed rest. But don't fret, as I'll be back on March 2nd with a hammer in hand and ready to bust. In between now and then, there's plenty of Blockbuster Buster content coming your way, as Jarvis has plenty of pre-recorded honest reviews lined up and ready for automatic upload, for your viewing pleasure. And in January and February, you're getting 2 solid months of honest reviews dedicated to the Marvel movies, as we count down to the Age of Ultron. I have to say it's been a great year. My only regret is not busting Amazing Spider-Man 2. Looks like you live to see another day. You know, I've never not busted a movie that I wanted to bust. I'm surprised that there are no repercussions. Oh, what happened? Jarvis! What day is it? Jarvis? Citizens of Dogpound, curfew begins at 7 p.m. Citizens found outside of their domiciles after this time will be detained and executed. A message from our glorious leader.
Your future is meaningless, desolate to start. Forsake your individuality and give in to the dark.
Citizen curfew is in effect. You have 1 second to comply.
Join the Legion, suckers!